Before we begin, if you care about the kind of history that actually kept ordinary people alive, fed, warm and functioning when systems collapsed, make sure you subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share this channel with someone who still believes modern convenience is permanent. What we're talking about today isn't nostalgia. It's lost competence. And once you see what vanished after war ended, you'll never look at progress the same way again. Why wartime civilians were more skilled than modern people realize. When wars ended, especially after the two world wars, something subtle but profound happened. Entire skill sets that once lived in kitchens, workshops, backyards and neighborhoods simply faded out. Not because they were useless, but because peace, industrial-scale production and centralized systems made them inconvenient. Wartime civilians were forced to become adaptable, technical and resourceful under pressure. Post-war life rewarded specialization and dependency instead. Skills that once determined survival were no longer taught, practiced or passed down. Within a generation, they were gone. Home-level food preservation stopped being common knowledge. During wartime shortages, civilians didn't try to preserve food. They had to. People knew how to salt meat properly, ferment vegetables safely, dry fruits without mold, and store root crops through winter without refrigeration. These weren't hobbies. They were survival routines refined through experience and shared locally. After the war, refrigerators, supermarkets and year-round imports replaced this knowledge. Today, most people couldn't preserve a week's worth of food without electricity. To apply this lost skill now, start small and practical. Learn one method at a time. Salt curing fish or meat, fermenting cabbage or drying produce in controlled airflow conditions immediately restores resilience without modern tools. Repair culture died when replacement became cheaper than skill. Wartime civilians repaired everything. Shoes were resoled, clothes were patched repeatedly, tools were reforged, and household items were endlessly repurposed. Knowing how materials behaved mattered. Leather, wood, metal, and fabric weren't disposable. Post-war mass production killed repair culture. When labor became expensive and goods became cheap, skill lost value. Today, restoring this means deliberately learning repair as a habit. Practice stitching heavy fabric, fixing simple mechanical failures, sharpening tools correctly, and understanding how objects fail. Civilian-level mechanical literacy, it quietly vanished. In wartime, civilians understood machines at a basic functional level. Bicycles, hand pumps, generators, stoves, radios and engines were maintained by necessity. People didn't wait for specialists. They learned enough to keep things running. But after the war, specialization took over. Modern users, they operate devices without really understanding them, and when they fail, everything just stops. Rebuilding this literacy starts with disassembly. Take apart simple machines. Learn how fuel, air, motion and friction interact. Practice maintaining bicycles, hand tools and non-digital engines. Mechanical understanding, honestly, it compounds quickly once the fundamentals are mastered. Neighborhood logistics and informal systems, they collapsed after peace. During the war, civilians organized distribution locally. Food sharing, tool lending, child supervision, information flow and security were managed informally, but, effectively. People knew who had what and who needed what. Trust networks really mattered. After peace, centralized services replaced local coordination and communities stopped practicing logistics. To apply this today, build intentional local networks, share skills, trade resources, and plan collectively. Practice community-level problem-solving before you need it. History shows that resilience rarely exists at the individual level alone. Low-tech navigation and environmental awareness, well, they just disappeared. Civilians once read landscapes naturally. They understood weather patterns, seasonal changes, daylight shifts, and terrain without apps or forecasts. They navigated by landmarks, sun position, and memory. Post-war infrastructure and digital tools removed the need. When systems fail, this knowledge doesn't come back instantly. Relearning it means, spending time outside without devices. Track seasonal indicators. Practice navigating familiar areas without GPS. Learn how wind, cloud movement, and temperature shifts signal change. These skills increase situational awareness and reduce risk during emergencies. Ration-based cooking knowledge faded with abundance. Wartime cooking was strategic. People knew how to stretch calories, substitute ingredients, and extract maximum nutrition from limited supplies. Bones became broth, scraps became meals, and nothing edible was wasted. After the war, abundance erased the need for this thinking. Today, most households waste food and lack calorie efficiency knowledge. Applying this skill now means learning to cook with constraints intentionally. Practice meals built around staples, not recipes. Learn how fats, starches, and proteins work together. This knowledge matters when supply chains break or budgets tighten. Practical psychological resilience was never formally preserved. One of the most overlooked wartime civilian skills was mental endurance. People learned how to function under fear, uncertainty, and loss without modern psychological frameworks. Routine, purpose, shared responsibility, and competence kept morale intact. Post-war society medicalized stress and outsourced resilience. Rebuilding this means practicing discipline, routine, and skill mastery. Doing hard things regularly builds confidence rooted in ability, not comfort. History shows resilience grows from competence, not reassurance. Why recovering these skills matters now more than ever. These skills didn't disappear because they were obsolete. They disappeared because peace made them inconvenient. History is clear that convenience is temporary. Systems fail. Conflicts return. Shortages happen. Those who retained civilian-level survival skills always adapted faster. You don't need to live like it's wartime, but you do need to think like someone who understands how fragile stability can be. If this deep dive gave you new perspective, or reminded you why history matters beyond textbooks, subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share this episode with someone who believes modern life is guaranteed. These lessons were paid for in hardship. The least we can do is remember them.